Hi, my name is Chak. I started my career in the IT industry probably in the mid 80s, and I started with a corporate organization called. Uh, I started with a company called Arthur Anderson, and they later become Accenture. I spent almost 10 years with them, and then I left them and started my own company. That's where my startup journey began in the mid 90s, and ran the company and built it from 300 people, and then we actually sold it to a company in Malaysia. Um, since then, I have started a uh, 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 since then I've started an investment firm together with several partners. And what we do is that we actually invest in new startups and also to contribute to the startup in actually building the organization with them. And that's what I've been doing actually so far. My mentoring journey really started when I started my company back in the mid 90s, right? And during that time, actually, mentors are far and few in between. And people who could mentor me or people who knew my business are either my customers or my competitors. So there are really no major uh, um, mentors available during that time. But I did have several angel investors, and some of the angel investors are really very busy individuals. And what actually impressed me most is that when they committed the time to help me, they actually are there to help me. So that is really where, the idea of being mentored, right, came to me uh, um, since then. During when I was running my company, we sort of ran into the dot-com period, which is in the late 90s and early noughties, right? And what I did was that I decided to find out what is happening in the Silicon Valley, and spent a couple of months in the valley looking at what is successful over there. And when I was there, I found a book and I read a book, and found that the book was actually very interesting. So what I did was I realized that the author was actually staying somewhere in the valley. So I picked up the phone, I gave him a call, and he came out to have lunch with me, and that was the biggest shock I've ever had. I mean, things like that won't really happen in our part of the world, but this guy who actually wrote a very fairly successful book, right, were willing to give me some time and have coffee with me. And basically, what happened was that he became my mentor actually during a season, right? And that was really what helped me, realize that mentorship was very important, because his exposure and experience actually benefited me actually quite a bit, when during the season that he was mentoring me. Well, I just have a story to tell. Not While it was a very memorable for me, it wasn't a really good turnout, right? Many years ago, I was a part of this program that actually mandated mentoring, and in order to get some funding from a government agency, the startup actually has to select and find a mentor that they could work with, right? And I found an organization and worked with them. And I realized that during that time, I am the one that actually initiating all the mentoring sessions, right? And I was actually quite taken aback from that perspective. And on one day, when I call up this particular individual and to find out what's happening to the company, he told me that his company is running out of cash in 3 days, right? And I was a little taken aback, and being the mentor figure, right? Okay, I felt that I could have done something if he could have told me a bit earlier some of his issues with the organization. So I think, what this situation actually taught me, right? What is really memorable in my mind, it actually told me that as a mentor, we have to keep in touch with with each other actually quite often. So therefore, I am really, really very glad that AIM has actually started a process to help mentors and mentees, participate and make full use of the mentoring time out there. I really appreciated this really very much. Well, as a mentee, it was very easy because I didn't have the experience, and my mentor actually gave me quite a lot of things to think about. Right? I mean, the whole idea of mentoring is that the mentor is not there to make decisions for you, but it gives you a different perspective of things, right? Perhaps stories from or experiences from what he has gone through, right, that we could actually apply to ourselves. Now, as a mentor, I would like to pay it forward, right, and so that the next generation of startup or mentees, get the exposure that I have gained over the last 30 odd years, and also what has been passed on to me by my other mentors earlier on. But I think more for a selfish reason, I became a mentor partly because I want to be in touch with the industry. I want to be in touch with ideas that is being generated currently, right? As most of us actually have experienced, the ups and downs of the economy, right? We have some set of ideas at how the world it is, right? But the world is changing every day. New things are being generated, new ideas are being created. So in order for me to be really relevant, right, I would, want to actually be in touch with the whole entire industry. I think there are many things I've learned from mentoring and being mentored. I think most importantly, right, the value I learned is that mentoring is a process, right? It's just not about giving advice over coffee, over free time, and a listening ear. It's really more than that. And of course, if individuals would like to keep mentoring at that level, it can happen at that level to be really, really informal and over coffee and such. But I think in order for us to really take advantage of mentors out there, right? There are things, that are beyond just having a coffee, right? Things like, managing relationships, right? Goal setting, regular meeting and communications and feedback. So these are things that I think, AIM actually has put into the process, which I said I am really very glad that it has. But I think one of my most valuable learning is that, my real world experience and exposure can actually help mentees tremendously if put into the right perspective or opportunities or networking for the mentees. I mean, the story is that, I have a story on that, and one mentee came up to me and said, Chak, my product actually would like to provide a career guidance, for people in the industry. And immediately I link it up and say, hey, the societies and the unions out there are really needing something that you have to bring it to the next level. Perhaps, your model could change instead of attacking, instead of a B2C model where everybody uses your software. What about organization that uses software to manage talent going forward? And that's something which we explored, right, while we were actually mentoring and while we were actually talking about new businesses for his startup. So I think what I learned most is really exposures, connections, my experiences actually do play a role in terms of helping the mentee grow. Not much of an advice. I think it's more sharing of experience. I think, mentors shouldn't take it too hard when mentees do not exactly follow your suggestion, because I always say that, the mentors are there to provide a different perspective. The ultimate decisions on what the outcome, right, of the questions that the mentees have really depend a lot on the mentee and their circumstances. So I think very, very important for mentors not to hold it to heart. It says, everything that you tell the mentor, or everything the mentor tells the mentee, right? It must be taken as the gospel truth, right? Because I think it is all about sharing exposures and experiences, and it's actually very important to communicate and actually create a very, very close relationship between the mentor and the mentees. I think relationship and communication actually are perhaps more than half, the mentoring journey, if you ask me.